One of the greatest lessons I've learned came from a middle school science class. Welcome to Coming Home Daily, a weekday devotional practice for intentional living. I'm your intentional living guide, Christian, and if you're ready, let's read. Sometimes the best lessons come from where you least expect them. This one came while I was helping my kid with one of his middle school science classes. They were learning about rocks, how they're formed, how they change over time, and why some structures have stood for hundreds and even thousands of years because of the strength of the rock beneath them. But what I caught my attention was not the rocks, it was the water. One of the things they learned was that water always finds a way. It goes over, around, under, through. It doesn't stop moving just because something is in its path. It'll wear it down over time. Over time, the rock changes. Not because the water is stronger in any single moment, but because it keeps showing up. And that lesson stayed with me. So often, when we have a clear vision of where we want to go, we become attached to exactly how we're going to get there. Then life happens, a door closes, plans change, the timeline stretches. Something unexpected appears in our path, and suddenly we think we failed. But maybe we haven't. Maybe we've simply reached the place where we need to become more like water. Now, here's what I realized: being clear about your destination doesn't mean being rigid about your route. Water doesn't argue with the rock, it adapts, it keeps moving. Its focus isn't on its obstacle, it's on where it's going. I've realized that that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to ourselves as well. Decide what you desire, understand why that matters, and then become the kind of person that can hold it. Then stay open to the path that gets you there. I used to think that changing my approach meant I wasn't committed enough. Now I see it differently. Sometimes adaptability is one of the clearest signs of commitment because when you know why you're moving, you don't panic every time the path changes. You simply find another way. I remember talking to my kid after we finished that class, and we discussed that life is a lot like that. You'll run into obstacles, but that doesn't mean you stop. Sometimes you go around them, sometimes over them, sometimes under them, and sometimes through them. And as most things I share with others, it was also a reminder for me too. Funny how that happens, right? That's become one of the reasons people often comment on my joy. It's not because life always goes according to plan, because I promise you it doesn't. It's because I've learned to hold tightly to my purpose while holding loosely to my expectations. I've learned to look for the lesson, the blessing, the silver lining, and the opportunity to grow. Not because everything is easy. It's not. Not because every detour is enjoyable. Also, no. But because, as my mama used to say, I've learned to keep enjoying the journey. So, if you run into an obstacle today, don't assume you've reached the end. Ask yourself, how can I be more like water? Maybe today's invitation isn't to stop. Maybe it's simply to go around, over, under, or through. The destination hasn't changed, only the path. Has adapting your approach ever turned into the thing that helps you stay committed instead of the one that breaks it? Let me know in the comments below. You know, I really do want to know. Here's your reflection question: where in your life are you needlessly holding on to one specific path when another way forward might already be available? You can repeat this affirmation: today, I come home to flexibility. I release the need to control every outcome. I choose to adapt without losing sight of what matters. I trust there's always another way forward. This week, we discovered that clarity doesn't come from standing still, it comes from movement. My hope is these conversations have reminded you that every intentional step, no matter how small, is moving you closer to the life that you're creating. Next week, we'll be talking about what happens when those small steps become consistent ones. Thank you for joining me this week. And take this with you for today and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until I see you again, stay intentional and keep coming home.